Welcome back to Leadership Devotionals. Today our devotional will cover something that is about your brain, about your mind, and what you are thinking about. You see, our brain is the most important organ in the body. Yes, some people may say it's the heart, some people may say it's something else, but the heart is also controlled by the brain. The lungs, our breathing is also controlled by the brain. And so all bodily functions emanate from this command center here in our mind. And among other organs, you will notice that this is the only organ that is encased by a hardened skull. Yes, the heart is also encased by the ribs, but there are spaces between ribs. All other organs are also protected, but not as much as the brain. It is protected in all times. In our brain, certain areas, our brain is divided into areas and they have their own specific functions. The frontal lobe, and we know that the frontal lobe is the one here in the front. The frontal lobe is the center for cognitive function, reasoning, thinking, understanding, learning, empirical factual knowledge, and more importantly, decision making. The parietal lobe, the two ones here on the side, processes information about temperature, taste, touch, and movement. And the occipital lobe, the one here at the occiput or at the back, is primarily responsible for vision. In our brain is composed by a ball, by a ball of millions of neurons. Neurons which are the component and the basic cell of the brain. These neurons connect with each other, and also they interconnect with other neurons, whether chemically or mechanically. Either when we say chemically, there are chemical compounds in between neurons that signal jumps through these chemicals. Mechanically, they are connected as it is. In the function component of the brain or mind for that matter, science has identified at least three processes. Three processes that determine the way of thinking. The first one is the chemical milieu. How our chemicals, are balanced or how they are secreted somehow determines how we think or influences our mindset. The second one is the mechanical dendritic connections. How the dendrites of our neurons are connected with each other also determines certain pathways in our brain and the process of our thinking. And the last one is our innate anatomical makeup. Somehow this innate anatomical makeup explains why certain people are just so adept with playing the piano while others cannot. But somehow along the line, others who are not that adept in playing the piano, they can also learn to play the piano. Same thing as with, there are people who are really good with balance, good with skateboarding, with, roller skating, while some has a hard time. But through time, that skill can also be learned. And so, let's first talk with the chemical makeup. The chemical makeup actually is a balance of hormones. Hormones like probably you might have heard like dopamine, which is, in simple terms, they say this is the pleasure hormone. Have another hormone, we have the serotonin, and they say this is the happiness hormone. And together with oxytocin, some speakers will say that this is what they call the angel's cocktail. When you are happy, when you are positive, and you're in a pleasurable state, These are the hormones that get secreted in your body, in your brain. The other hormones are the ones that are involved in the fight and flight function of your brain. You have your cortisol, and you have your norepinephrine and your epinephrine. These kinds of hormones, are secreted when you face danger, when you are stressed. These are the kinds of hormones that are secreted, and they have an effect also on your bodily functions. But when an imbalance occurs among these hormones, so these hormones are maintained in a certain balance so that you can function well. When an imbalance occurs, this is where we see people going haywire. Some may say it's neurotic, some may say it's psychotic. But let's just put it to say that when an imbalance occurs, this is where they go haywire. And this is where psychiatrists come in and, try to reestablish the balance by giving medications. In these processes, certain activities enhance the secretion of the feel-good hormones, like beta endorphins, and activities such as exercise, laughter, among others. They produce this, what we call angel's cocktail. Prayer and reading lights up the brain in SPECT scans. These scans, are specialized kind of diagnostic imaging modalities wherein when they scan the brain and they find people who they ask people to pray, or they ask people to laugh, or they ask people to read while scanning the brain, certain areas light up. And also, these kinds of activity promote the secretion of these feel-good hormones. On the mechanical process side, there's such a thing as neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is, this kind of studies on neuroplasticity, this is where we find new connections, new interconnections among dendrites, among brain cells, when some of them may have been destroyed or some of them may have died out already. Neuroplasticity is the process wherein our brain will try to reconnect certain things so that we can go back to normal function. And when they have established new connections, these will be the new pathways. These will be the new highways wherein signals again can run, and you as a leader can function well. Be back to active programming. On the innate anatomical trait, this is where I've said a while ago that some of us, these are the instances wherein there are really people who have been born to be like that. It's as if their brain is shaped, as if their brain is shaped to be they as a violin player, as if their brain has been shaped to be gifted to be a mathematician. Yes, some of us can learn mathematics, but there are really people who are really adept to that. But by intentional determination, we can also come up to that level by training our brain. And that's the point I want to follow next. All these processes, the chemical, the mechanical, and the anatomical, innate anatomical, all of these processes, remember this, all of these processes can be influenced, All of these processes can be influenced by our conscious and determined intent. Let me repeat that. All of these processes can be influenced by our conscious and determined intent. Laughter, if you keep on laughing even though there's nothing to laugh about, your brain will secrete feel-good hormones. Exercise, if you sweat it out, your brain will also secrete feel-good hormones, and it will be a very, very good antidote for stress. Positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement, directing your thoughts towards the positive all the time, eventually your mindset will go into that direction. Why am I saying this? Because in all of us, there is an organic process that happens when we think. Okay? There is an organic process, the chemicals, the mechanical, and the anatomical. There is an organic process that happens when we think positive or negative thoughts. There is an organic process that happens when we think positive or negative thoughts. There is an organic process that happens unbeknownst to us when we are critical with people around us, when we complain, or when we are judgmental. No wonder Jesus counseled us in Matthew chapter 7 verses 1 to 6 not to be judgmental, not to be censorious, not to be critical of our fellow men. And as leaders, we have to learn to be motivational, okay, positive side, motivational and inspiring instead of being censorious and critical. Norman Vincent Peale, author of The Power of Positive Thinking and Enthusiasm Makes a Difference, once said, "Change your thoughts and you change the world." As leaders, you and I, banking our thoughts on the side of positivity, on the side of possibilities, on the side of hope, is an infectious way to spread enthusiasm and inspiration among our colleagues. When we see the positive side of people, they will also respond to us positively. To close, let me leave you with these thoughts as advised by Apostle Paul, and learn to practice this in your daily thinking process. It is found in Philippians chapter 4 verse 8. Okay, Philippians chapter 4 verse 8. Mark this text in your Bibles. Philippians chapter 4 verse 8. And I read, "Finally, brothers and sisters," or finally leaders, "whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are noble, whatsoever is right, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." Fill your mind with such things. Fellow leaders, today is a day that you can fill your mind with what is true, what is noble, what is right, what is pure, what is lovely, what is admirable, what is excellent, and what is praiseworthy. Fill your mind with these thoughts is my prayer for you.